Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers.
We're down in Milwaukee today to visit one of our regular warehouses that we like to go to. And today they've been talking about a sale that they're having that's supposed to have a bunch of toys and games and other stuff like that, collectibles from the 90s through the 70s, I think. So we're just going to take a look inside and see if that's true. So that turned out to be okay. The thing is, the toys that they advertised that were all laid out on the table, once I got there to look at them, they had prices on them, and truthfully, all of a sudden that part which brought us down there didn't appeal to me. And so I started digging through this bookshelf that looked like it just had some old books, but the more I dug, I found tons of really cool old children's illustrated books. And that's my jam. So
I found puzzles.
And she found a bunch of puzzles that were like under a shelf, underneath a stack of shelves. So the thing that actually brought us down there wasn't entirely what we ended up getting at all. And at the end, we were about to leave and told the guy that runs the place, who knows us, that there were some dolls we wanted to get, but they were kind of overpriced. And he was like, "Oh, just give me a second and we'll go take a look at them." And he ended up giving us a really nice deal on those. So we'll check out what I got going on after we drive home.
All right, so let's take a look at some of the stuff that I picked up from the warehouse. Right by the checkout line, there's a stack of records that we go through each time. I still have a bunch of records that I've collected, so we didn't take too many, but I grabbed Mary Poppins, the Julie Andrews and Dick Van Dyke version, Sean Cassidy, A Do Run Run. At least I think that's the name of it. It may just be called Sean Cassidy, but A Do Run Run is on it. Look at that, dreamy. An album of Liberace called Liberace Now. That is some Paisley stuff going on there. The Partridge Family album, and not the photo album. It is actually the record album. And Marlo Thomas's Free to Be You and Me album. A record album that was during the time of like when Sesame Street came out, and there was a bunch of really, I don't want to say hippie-ish parent teachings, but it's kind of what it is. Normally when I go to this warehouse in Milwaukee, they don't have a lot of books. And when they do, there's just like a few. This time, that bookshelf that I told you about had a bunch. They were all mixed in with like, I want to say adult books, but like the nonfiction books, learning books, like older books, but my jam is children's books. And they happen to have a lot of them there. 3 parts of the series of Care Bear books from the 80s. This one's really cool. It's actually an artistic collection of different scenes from Walt Disney, like storyboards and layouts and movies from over the years. So it's a bunch of art by the studio that was conceptual for the movies that they made. A Strawberry Shortcake book and record. And the thing that's great about this is it's off-brand. I think this is not necessarily an approved strawberry shortcake, or this is possibly during the early stages of strawberry shortcake. Maybe it is. I should research this to see exactly who the artist was, but it's got the record inside of it as well. I know that strawberry shortcake was created by Hallmark, and it was just along with the Care Bears, and it was something that they would do to kind of revitalize their greeting cards. So they created characters, and maybe this is what the early strawberry shortcake looked like. I don't know. A 1940s little golden book that's about flowers. These ones they have a different backing. This is when they were printed by, I want to say Simon & Schuster. Yes, Simon & Schuster. This one also doesn't have the signature spine. This is back when they did cloth spines. I also got this Alice in Wonderland Disney storybook. This too is one that isn't just scenes from the movie. It's conceptual artist recreations of the movie that they have throughout the book. And and it's just big, beautiful, colorful pictures of someone's interpretation of the Alice in Wonderland movie. And I got tons more books from there too. So I'll be listing these, and as they get sold, and as I find ones that are really unique, kind of like this Batman animated series talking book, which I need to get a battery for, by the way. I'll be doing more videos about those as people buy them or as I start researching them and studying them. So keep an eye out for more videos about these illustrated books, because I got a bunch of them. You know, the funny thing is, I actually almost didn't get those books because I set them next to the counter. They were getting too heavy. So as I kept shopping, I was like, can I set these over here? And when we went to check out, I forgot they were over there. So if I wouldn't have picked up these two items, Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers. Hey, this isn't Rescue Rangers. This is actually some old Chip and Dale, like early old Chip and Dales. That sentence doesn't make sense. Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers. So I got those. I also got this old Pop-O-Matic Trouble game, which it's got the game in it. It's complete, but the box itself is a different size than the box cover. I don't know why it doesn't fit. That confuses me, but they both say Trouble. I'll have to check out the dates on these. A very classic game of the show Jeopardy! I always thought that Alec Trebek and the version that I saw in the 80s through present time was Jeopardy! But apparently Jeopardy! Goes back even further. I had no idea. I got this halftime football dice game. So it's essentially a dice game that comes with a football field for the board. And you roll the dice and move your figures as football players across the board. So it's kind of a conceptual game. I also got one of these game day hats that they would give away at Brewers Stadium to kids. They'd have like special days where you would win these caps. And this one still has that head adjustment thing in there, so picked that up. I also got this Papa Smurf doll from the 80s. Smurftastic. I also got a ton of illustrated wooden and cardboard frame tray puzzles. I'll show you some, but the problem is when I go to show them, a lot of them fall apart. So I'll just kind of lift some of them up. Chip and Dale's. Okay, here's the actual Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers one as a frame tray puzzle. Bert and Ernie. I almost said Barney and Ert, but it's Bert and Ernie from Sesame Street hanging out on a frame tray. Bugs Bunny sitting in France for some reason getting served carrots in a glass. Mickey Mouse going on a picnic. Donald Duck with Chip and Dale. Not Rescue Ranger. We've got Goofy and the Beaver. Not to be confused with Wally and the Beaver, but we have Goofy and the Beaver. And this artist rendering of the popular doll Chatty Cathy in a frame tray puzzle. So this is supposed to be Chatty Cathy going to the airport. Oddly enough, they didn't draw Chatty Cathy talking. And those are some of the things that we got at the warehouse in Milwaukee.